had its head up, at independence, and nothing was done about it. And today, Nigeria suffers on all sides from not finding its, teeming population jobs to do. Nigeria is said to be the capital, of poverty of the world. There are religious crises staring us in the face, insecurity taking its toll on Nigerians, and some people would say never have we had it, too bad. And the matters of governance, too, comes out to be an issue for us. This rich nation of Nigeria is said to be harboring citizens, who are poor and on the lower rung of the ladder. So where are we with Nigeria today? But again, analysts have come out to say that this situation is worrisome. And of course, if there are quick fixes to it so that we get ourselves out of this doldrum, we'll be talking about why it's become so worrisome for people to talk about the situation that we're finding ourselves today. And our guest this morning that wants to share, and of course put his thoughts out about the worrisome state of the nation today is Jide Ojo. Jide Ojo is the executive director of OJA Development Council, or Consult, sorry to say. He's a columnist with the Punch newspapers, an author and a blogger, a fellow of the Institute of Leadership and Governance, and of course, a culture enthusiast. My guest by phone this morning, Jide Ojo, good morning. I'm glad to have you on the program. Hello. 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 Hello, Jide. Hello. Having a little problem on the other side, but again, I think we just could just fix that now. We're talking about my guest this morning, Jide Ojo, Executive Director of OJA Development Consult. He's also a columnist with the Punch newspapers, an author, blogger, and a fellow of the Institute of Leadership and Governance, United States of America, a culture enthusiast too. And hope to today be looking at the worrisome state of the nation. And it goes back to when the whole thing, the entity came into being. We're talking about pre-independence time, how we got ourselves together, and of course, where we are today with the Nigerian nation. We've talked about some of the things that have cropped up in the nation before independence that were not tackled or left unsolved or unresolved. And today again, after independence, the successive regimes and, governments that we've had, how much have they put in, to making sure, tidying up issues about the Nigerian nation. And today, what we suffer today just didn't start today. It didn't come up about today. It was, a thing that has gone back in the past. And so much today that we question if, we are holding the Nigerian nation on all sides. We see ethno-religious crisis creeping up, and of course we had an author who once said that there was a country. And all of this is putting its toll on the Nigerian nation and its people. And so with our guest this morning, Jide Ojo, we'll be talking about how worrisome the state of the nation is. Jide Ojo, good morning once again. Hello, Jide. Hello? Well, it's a worrisome state of the nation that is on the front burner today, what we'll be talking about. And having introduced you as our guest this morning, We're looking at how we got ourselves here. And of course, you've been writing a lot about the state of the nation. But again, it's gone to a situation where I would say that it is worrisome, and holding it and how long we can hold it is an issue today. But for you, a general overview about what is creeping up in the nation, and that turns out to be worrisome.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? All right.
I can hear you.
All right, I've been asking the question, but we're having a problem with the ends. So, are we okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, all right. Just talking about the worrisome state of the Nigerian nation and how we got here, the things that we just did not do right. And I went back to talk about pre-independence, that there were issues that were unresolved before we got ourselves together as a nation. After independence too, this situation was not taken care of. It was left, unresolved. But it had always been there. Of course, we've had successive governments, military and civilian, and these issues were still there, left unresolved. But today, rearing its ugly head about how we are as a people, ethno-religious crisis that has taken its toll on Nigeria. We talk about insecurity. We talk about, the teeming population of our young ones who are out of jobs, and of course the school system again. ASU is on strike. We never know when that will be called off, and all that is coming up. And only this morning I just read from a professor of transportation talking about the Chinese-Nigeria arrangement on the railway and telling Nigerians to cut it off as quick as possible. But again, these are issues coming out of the Nigerian state. For you, the issues, an overview of what is coming up now.
Well, thank you very much, my brother, for hosting me on this show this morning, the last day of the month of August. Nigeria's national question or crisis of leadership or development predates our independence. And you could see that even as at the time we were fighting for independence, a section of the country said they were not ready for independence, while the other section or segment of the country said they were ready. And eventually the independence had to be delayed till 1960. Now we are 60 years down the line. The question of leadership, of development, of all of these are still with us. And they are with us because we have a political elite whose interest is far from being patriotic and nationalistic. The political elite of Nigeria, successive one, and the leadership of the military are in cahoots to largely feather their own nest under the guise that they are leading the country. And many authors have written books on the leadership question in Nigeria. And there were consensus about the fact that Nigeria has been unfortunate to have a leader that can unite, leader that can promote national development. And you could see that we have had leaders across the divides. We have had northern and southern leaders at the center. Even a South person had been the president of Nigeria. We have had the Yoruba man as the president. We have had northerners from the northwest, from the northeast. And the question is, why are we where we are? You pointed out the issue of unemployment. You pointed out the issue of poverty. And today, we are still in the back of the woods in every indices of development. I will not say a particular or one administration should be singled out for our national malaise. It is a culmination of misgovernance right from the beginning of our independence. They are all equally guilty of misleading and misdirecting Of course, you will not say, when we say leadership challenge, the reason why the blame goes to the leader is not because they directly or they themselves may have directly partake of this uh, um, misgovernance, but because they listen to their lieutenants who misadvise them, who rather than them taking a very patriotic route to development, we are more interested in the election and how to stay in power. For instance, let me put this: when you look at how leaders emerge in the democratic setting, who can win election in Nigeria without the support of other tribes and other segments of the country? No one. And in trying to raise resources to win election, human and material, you have to do a lot of compromises. I don't know if you get my drift. You have to do a lot of compromises, because even if you win all the votes in your own region or in your own part of the country, without reaching to the other part, you may not go far, you may not win your election. So you need to reach out, and in reaching out, you have to make a lot of compromises, because people who will mobilize, who will put resources behind your political ambition, many of them may be crooks, they may be corrupt individuals, they may be people who are even responsible for the underdevelopment of this country. And once they put resources down, materials, finance, and you become winner of that election, you can't turn against those people who have aided you to victory. What you do is you try to shield them from prosecution, from evil investigation, sometimes from arrest. And at the end of the day, they get away with blue murder. We have seen, and if we go subnational, look at what is happening in NDDC. For instance, an interventionist agency that was set up in 2000 to help with the development of the Niger Delta environment. But what did we see? Even though it's sons and daughters of the Niger Delta that are at the helm of affairs, they have collaborated with other individuals and groups to undermine the development of them. We have seen startling revelations of recent during the public hearing at the House of Reps and Senate of how bogus contracts were awarded. So, Minister of Niger Delta, Boswe Akpabio, said there were over 12,000 abandoned projects over the past 2 decades. On the list of Niger Delta Development Commission, and you heard him, the clanger that he dropped when he said even members of the National Assembly got the chunk of the contract, and these are the same people who are trying to investigate the same agency that they have helped to undermine. So we can go on and on and cite examples. But the bottom line is that whichever way you look at the underdevelopment of Nigeria, you cannot exonerate our leaders, our political leaders, because the buck stops at their table. They are responsible for the success and failure of the administration. They hire the people to help them run the government, and if they see that any of their hires, any of their lieutenants or any of their appointees are not doing well, they hold the power to remove and to replace such individual. But where they condone and they use primordial sentiments, is my townsman, is somebody from my religious faith, is somebody from my schoolmate, and they cut that person in office against superior advice or superior judgment, they will be held liable for that. So invariably, on the underdevelopment which is standing us in the face, we cannot exonerate our political leaders from it. And when I say political leaders, I'm also by extension referring to the military. Because today, Abacha died in 1998. Abacha loot is still being repatriated back to Nigeria over 22 years after his demise. Just imagine the quantum of resources that one single individual have amassed has stacked abroad. And that's just one person. And there was Armed Forces Ruling Council. Members of the Armed Forces Ruling Council have not been investigated. We have not seen the role of even the Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters under him. We have not investigated all the people who were ministers under Abacha. I know that if a proper investigation were to be held, I can tell you for free that many of them will also be answerable for corruption. Because a tree cannot make a forest. You cannot say only Abacha by himself without any assistance and support amass that kind of loot outside of the shores of Nigeria. So when you look at the issue of corruption, you look at the issue of poverty, issue of insecurity, issue of unemployment, everything points to our political leaders who have misgoverned the country.
Oh, well, Jide, what Nigeria will be 60 in days to come, weeks to come. Nigeria will just be 60. And with what is coming out now in the life of this nation, we're seeing a country that is so rich, so very rich, that at a time an administration said it was all about, not what to do with the money. We had that. It's a country of rich culture. It's a country of people, very enlightened people too. And you would talk about natural endowment, all that, God has blessed this nation with. But again, people talk about, how to coordinate all of these to make it, for the good of this nation. Now, the question is, how long can this hold? All that we've brought out now, the corruption, the ethnic, religious crisis that we're having, insecurity and all of that. How long can this nation hold with all of that staring it in its face?
Mercifully, each time we get to the precipice, we've always managed to pull back. And I don't know for how long our luck will hold. Which is why you saw the government of the federal government of Nigeria, when some people, a group of young people last year, decided to have revolution now protests across the country. They were quickly rounded up, and the ROH is still answering for some charges in court, because that was how it started in Sudan. That was how it started in Sudan, that led to the ouster of the strongman Omar al-Bashir. That was how it started even in Zimbabwe, that led to the exit of strongman Robert Mugabe of blessed memory. And that was how it also started in Egypt, when Hosni Mubarak was pushed out through protest. As I went due. And look at what has happened in the aviation sector, where over 100 staff, 100 pilots have been laid off, and pilots and engineers. And these are highly skilled workers, and they are losing their jobs in droves. Look at the hospitality business, look at the entertainment sector, how the pandemic has impacted negatively. So we are in we are in distress as a country. But I think it behoves our leaders at different levels now, not just federal, at different levels, to redouble their efforts and make sure that they govern their citizens well, and they make the sacrifice, needed sacrifice, because this period of COVID-19 is the time to show good leadership. We know that the resources are not available as it used to be. The inflow, if you look at the sales of crude oil, at some point we are producing and there are no buyers. There are no buyers. And you can't drink this. You can't drink this oil. And unfortunately, the crude that we want to sell we are not refining it in Nigeria. We are shipping it abroad to refine and bring back. Today, a liter of premium motor spirit sells for an Olympian cost of 148 naira, from 137 during the last administration. And they are telling us they have to do this because they don't want to pay subsidy again. But just yesterday on news, I learned the NNPC is talking of under recovering in billions that it had to pay. So we need more transparency and accountability in governance at all levels, at federal, state, and local levels. And the leaders at this different strata needs to be more open, accountable, and demonstrate that they have the interest of the people at heart. That is what can stave off revolution or protest, sustainable protest. Because if situation continues that people cannot actualize their self-esteem, people wake up, they graduate from school, they don't have jobs, they don't have money in their pocket, they cannot even afford the basic needs, they will not mind even death coming to pick them. You could see even high level of suicide that a lot of people are committing suicide. If you check the dailies virtually on weekly basis, you hear of one person or the other committing suicide, which is, and those who committed suicide are even fewer in number compared to those who have had mental distress, those whose mental who are now suffering from mental health challenge, because a lot of people are depressed, they are distressed, they are hopeless. You see people walking on the streets and talking to themselves. Yes, some people are just living. They are just living. They are just alive. They are not living. I think that's more appropriate.
Okay.
And that needs to be reversed. That trend needs to be reversed, and it's not just by federal government but by state and local government and leadership as well. They must work collaboratively to get the country out of this economic doldrums that we have found ourselves.
Okay,
so that hope can be restored.
All right, we'll still be on the program, but we must go for a commercial break now. I'll be back with you shortly.
That's all right.
Welcome back. Here's the program Perspectives this morning, and we're looking at the worrisome state of the nation. My guest by phone this morning is Jide Ojo, Executive Director of Oja Development Consult. Is a columnist with the Punch newspapers, an author and a blogger, a fellow of the Institute of Leadership and Governance, United States of America, and a culture enthusiast. He's with me on the program today, and we're talking about what is coming out of the Nigerian state. Well, Jide, something just came up again, and of course, I'm sure you're aware of it. And I want to particularly look at the issue of suspicion in the nation. Of course, we come from different divides that makes the Nigerian nation. But suspicion, which is now rearing its ugly head in how we live together and carry out the affairs of this nation. Only this morning, it's all over the news now that there is a splinter group from the Nigerian Bar Association. The new group would be the New Nigerian Bar Association. And of course, reading meanings and some people analyzing the situation would say it has come up with this invite that was, given to the executive governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, as to, who was earlier on invited to be a guest, at the function of the Nigerian Bar Association. But again, this new group has come in, the New Nigerian Bar Association. Now, we're talking about a group of people who are, learned, so to say, and who are, one would say, would also be heading the judiciaries, the benches, and of course, who will be, judging cases and all of that, and for this group to come out, at this time of nation building, to come out and say nothing wrong with that, as some people would say, to have another splinter group, but from how it came about is one question that again would talk about stabilizing this country and working for its development. What are your thoughts on this new development?
unfortunate because and that's why it is said that on his lies there that wears the crown. The new leadership of Nigeria Bar Association was in a dilemma. There were protests to the effect that the earlier invite extended to the executive governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, should be withdrawn. And if that had not happened, there are possibilities of people staging a walkout and all of that. And even those who pressured the new NBA president, NBA leadership to withdraw the invite to Nasir El-Rufai suggested having him replaced with another northern governor, and that's Professor Zulum, the governor of Borno State. But before you say Jacobinson, some people have started reading ethnic meanings and religious meanings to the whole thing, possibly because the new leadership of NBA happens to be from the south and is a Christian. Now we have what is called the new NBA. It can only weaken the bar, Nigeria Bar, but then you should know that NBA has never been short of crisis, leadership crisis. It has only come out of those crises stronger. There have been time past when the NBA was comatose because of leadership crisis. But even the election of NBA had been very embroiled in controversy, where people said the election was rigged in favor or against some candidates. And this is an election that was conducted via electronic voting. So when Nigerians are saying let's have electronic voting, if at the level of NBA, and this is not the first time NBA is using electronic voting, they have been using it for I think the past 2-3 elections. They have been using electronic voting, and if in spite of that you still have these controversies about the election being rigged in favor or against, I don't know how, but that's to tell you that nothing is foolproof. You have pointed out most appropriately the issue of suspicion. Everything, look at the CAMA, Company and Allied Matters Act, the president signed to law on August 7th. Look at the crisis, the Una Balu that it has generated. You would think that they expressly wrote that it is targeted at Christianity or the Christian faith, but it's just association that the common law talks about. It didn't say Christian or Muslim, and you see the vociferous dissent is coming from a section of Christianity which is the Pentecostals. The Orthodox saw nothing wrong in it, but before you know it, the people have started reading religious meaning to it, that it was an attack on the body of Christ and all of that. And I don't know, this cynicism, I don't know for how long we are going to hold on to this primordial sentiment. It is quite unfortunate. It is something that we should have outgrown, and but again, we are stuck in it, and we only hope and pray that at the end of it all we will overcome. Even countries with longer years, I mean, you have United States of America with over 240 post-independence experience, and is still grappling with issues of racism, is still grappling with issues of inequality and discrimination against women, against issue of racism against black and the colored people. So every country definitely has its own challenge of nationhood, and I hope that Nigeria will overcome our own at this end.
Okay, let's also look at this. It's coming up, from the economic sector, and some people say we are a nation that has gone like a borrowing now. We borrow all sorts of money, and people say, to plug back into the economy, yet the economy as it is not taking the right breath that it should take, and institutions, lending institutions have cautioned on Nigeria's borrowing that we may in the end be mortgaging or putting the country at to make it a country that would just be paying and paying from all it gets. Now this again has come up where worrisome too as it is. This Biodun Odumbaku Wilson had just come out to say that we should halt the Chinese loans for Nigerian railways now. And he premised on how these loans were acquired, and of course the Chinese people, how much of trust do we put on them? We are seeing some other countries, African countries, where the Chinese have almost like taken over because they are quick at giving out loans, and of course we're tied to all the clause that would be on it. Now we're having it. Biodun is raising some concerns about what language are we speaking, in what language, who are the people involved, the Chinese people that we have around us, are they real people or people that have come again to spy into the nation and all of that. So and we saw again what happened at the National Assembly, the controversy about the Chinese loans, especially on railways. But at this critical time of it, is it about again not getting doing the right thing about governance, or how could it again be that a situation where the president may not have his hand on all of this and may not know what is happening? And of course, it was the minister that got us into all of this. But the concerns now about the Chinese loans, and of course, knowing how the Chinese operate in wherever they find themselves, are you concerned here too?
Very concerned, my brother. Very, very concerned. But you see, I don't blame the Chinese. I blame my own government, successive government for that matter, because all these Chinese loans we're talking about are not just borrowed under this Buhari administration. Even Jonathan administration borrowed to fund Kaduna Abuja Railway to an extent. Even our aviation sector, some of the new terminals they are building were done by the Chinese loan. But the question is this, Jerry, can we in good conscience say that we are developing our country? Look at China. China is made up of population of 1.3 billion. Now, the country is one country with the highest number of people on the universe. Yet, China is everywhere. You see Chinatown in everywhere. When I visited the US in 2010, there was Chinatown in Washington, D.C. There is Chinatown in Washington. In Lagos, there is Chinatown everywhere. These people are smart because they've been able to reap the benefit of science and technology. And that's why they have run aground our industries in Nigeria and in many African countries. China was also responsible for the death knell on our textile industry because they are able to produce very cheap textile of substandard quality which they ship to Africa in order to kill their local industries. And because the cost of doing business in Nigeria and Africa is very huge, so they are able to get away with this. But why I'm really bothered about how we have funded our economy, so to speak, to the Chinese through this huge borrowing is that if China with 1.3 billion population and Nigeria with 200 million population is having to Google. I mean, let's look at this. Let me give this illustration. A man has 200 children, and another has 7 children. And the one with 7 children is going to the one with 200 children to borrow. Does it not sound awkward to you? I mean, if population, as they have told us, that we are overpopulated and that's why we don't have enough development, our infrastructures are overstretched and all of that, should we not bury our head in shame that a country with huge population in over 1 billion, and In those days when I was studying, they said what makes China to be part of the Security Council of the United Nations was the population. It has ceased to be the population size, because then they will tell you that for every one American, China can afford to lose 4, and then so they have that numerical strength. But instead of numbers being to the disadvantage of China, it has become a plus. Now they have industrial clusters all over. Many of our businessmen and women goes to China to import, and that is aside from the borrowing. And you heard Minister of Transportation saying that we should not probe the China loans because it will scare them off, and they may not, Nigeria may not have the resources to fund the Lagos to Calabar rail line. And I said, who cares? How will you say you should not probe something because you are afraid of your lender? Should we be lending or borrowing from China in this 21st century? Look at my illustration. China, with huge population, is loaning money to Africa. The entire population of Africa, 54 countries of Africa, is not up to one country of China. Because I'm not sure the entire 54 countries of Africa is up to 1.3 billion in population size. Yet we are the one going capping now to the same China to now ask for loans. We should beg our heads in shame as Africans, as Nigeria. Because ordinarily, if we have developed our science and technology and have become industrialized like China has become, we should not be borrowing from China. And now, we borrow using without giving due consideration to the clauses in those borrowing agreements. We have waived our sovereign immunity because we just want to borrow. I mean, that's like selling your birthright for a pottage for a pottage, as illustrated in the Holy Book. And that's why I'm worried. Because like in Zambia and a couple of other African countries where they say China has taken over some part of their economy, maybe the management of the rail sector or the aviation sector, because they use they got the loans to build those facilities for China. And I hope that we will not one day have China being the one to manage our railway, to manage our aviation, because we could not afford to pay. The other day, the Minister of Transportation was saying that we have paid out of over $400 million, that we have managed to pay maybe $95 million out of that loan. But the question we should ask ourselves is this. If you look at the 2020 budget, our debt servicing ratio of that budget is almost at par with our envelope for capital expenditure. And with more borrowings this year, it may actually go above our capital envelope. Let me be more specific. Before, at least I know that before the revised budget, our total budget for capital is about 2.57 or 2.6 trillion naira. Our debt servicing was 2.45 trillion, and that is as at 2020 budget. Now that we have borrowed more, the debt servicing ratio may go to as high as 3 trillion naira, and I'm not sure whether we'll be able to have 3 trillion naira for our capital projects in 2022, given the very parallel state of the economy in 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So invariably, when you look at the permutations and the forecast and the statistics, it just doesn't help our country.
Okay, Jide.
And that's why I'm worried and I'm very, very disconsolate about this excessive borrowing on the part of federal government.
All right, Jide, just stay on the line. Let's just squeeze in one or two calls that where questions can come from on what we've been talking about. And numbers to call to be part of the conversation: 081 40,000 989 or 070 87 800 989. 081 40,000 989 or 070 87 800 989. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Tayalabi.
Good morning. Quickly, please.
Good morning to your guest.
Thank you. Quick.
Yes, your guest has spoken all what is in my mind. So let me chip one or two things concerning this our Chinese loan. Mr. Tayalabi, yesterday in the headline, they are commissioning military university, army university in Katsina. By the same money they borrowed in China. And I will also tell you that the construction of railway from Kano to Lagos is also from the loan in the China. The CCEA or whatever, the Chinese people, the Chinese doctors, specialists that come to help Nigeria to counter COVID-19, also imported with Nigerian resources according to what the Nigerian leaders told us. After the whole drama today, they say na Chinese construction company. No, I will not try to understand myself or the way we are looking at this thing. It's like there is something hidden in this country that nobody wants to open up mouth and tell us the truth. Now, the division of the Bar Association or MPA, because of the invitation of
quickly, Chief, I'm talking quickly.
Yes, memorandum on the withdrawing of the invitation. Now the bar has been divided into 2 or 3. If you go to National Assembly, they have divided more than 2 or 3. If you go to rep, the same thing. Governor Sorum divided. Is it not better for Nigeria to have a sitting ground, sit down, call every group, let us share this food for many of Nigeria, or divide the Nigeria so that everybody will be on his own.
Okay, all right. Okay, Chief Amotekun. Chief Amotekun, we got you on that. We got you on that.
Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Chief Amotekun. Jide, that's just about the only question we can, squeeze in now. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I thank you, Chief Amotekun, for your intervention. But you see, whichever way we look at it, I think we just need to overgo and shelve the toga of this primordial sentiment. And our leaders need to be at the forefront of helping us to overcome these challenges, even in terms of unifying this country. Let me cite the example of political parties. We said we want to have only national parties. But we do know that many of the parties are just national on paper. They are actually regional parties. And that's why we need to revisit some of these things. If people want to cleave to their ethnic identity, so be it. In as far as they didn't do it to bring, if it's not in conflict with our national region. You could see the opposition to Amotekun when it was initially raised last year. And now there is a raging controversy about the leadership structure where the IG said it should be under the Nigerian police. And the Western region governors, I mean the governors of the 6 Southwest states, are saying that no, they want it independent of the police structure. So these are part of the challenge of leadership and challenge of development that we must overcome. It won't go away. Our challenges as a nation will not go away. We just need conscientious patriotic leaders to help demystify some of these challenges by leading by example. We thank God President Muhammadu Buhari is doing his level best. I just wish he is younger. Maybe if he were to be in his 50s and could keep eye on issues more than he is able to do at his current age, maybe we'll have seen more dynamism in the way things are done. But right now, the president have to rely on many lieutenants to get things done for him because of his attention span has been limited by age. But be that as it may, let our conscience, as Uthman Danfodio said many decades ago, he said conscience is an open wound, only the truth can heal it. Let's be sincere with ourselves. Are we part of the solution to the Nigerian problem, or are we part of the problem? We must make that clear-cut choice. But whatever choice we make, let us remember that the country that we are building today is where our children and future generations will live in. So it is better to do things that are good rather than things that will destroy this country.
All right, Jide Ojo, I cannot thank you more. Thank you for coming on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and do have a great week.
All right. I guess Jide Ojo, Executive Director of Oja Development Consult, a columnist with the Punch newspapers, author, blogger, and fellow of the Institute of Leadership and Governance, United States of America, also a culture enthusiast. On the program, Perspectives this morning, where we put the topic up on worrisome state of the nation. We'll come back with Perspectives tomorrow. Highness, thank you for connecting us with the people, and Wisdom, thank you for putting us in the pictures. Good morning.
In